All right. Well, today on the podcast, I'm really excited to have Emma Coburn on the show. Welcome to the podcast, Emma.
Thanks for having me.
So you were just in Indiana for the Boss Mile, and I got to do like a little post race interview. And I have to tell you, I felt so weird and out of place, like with my mask on. It was the first time I've been in a setting like that where I'm like trying to interview someone with a mask on. So it felt so weird.
Yeah, 2020 is just full of weird, right? Like we're all adjusting and adapting to the weirdness, and a lot of that is um, you know, going through life wearing masks now, but some of it, yeah, it's racing in empty tracks, empty stadiums. It's not knowing what, it's having an empty calendar of racing ahead of you. It's all just been weird, but I think we've all luckily adapted pretty well to it. And I think everyone's now just realizing that you just got to go with the flow.
Yeah, did it feel good to actually like get on an airplane and go somewhere because you've spent so much of your life, your professional life traveling?
It definitely is. It's funny to think of flying to Europe and being jet lagged and all of that. Like there is a side of me that misses that experience and trying to catch my connection in the Frankfurt airport and rushing through customs, like all that even the annoying stuff related to international travel, there's pieces of me that miss it for sure. Last summer, we spent the month leading up to the World Championships in San Moritz, Switzerland, and a few of the girls on the team, and then our coach, Joe, who's my husband. And that when I look at pictures or time hop things pop up of that, or Lover, Taylor Swift Lover album had just come out. So we were listening to that on repeat. So often I'll hear a song from that album and just get brought back to San Moritz. And that's when I have sadness over what 2020 has become. But again, I think we're all in the same boat, and there's been a lot of good silver linings. I've been home in Crested Butte all summer, and training is going really well. So, I can find the good in this situation too.
Okay, pause. What is your favorite song on that album? Because I have a hard favorite. Like it's like there's no competition.
Oh wow. Well, we all really loved I Think He Knows, and part of that was it just struck us in the right time. And I don't so now that's my favorite on the album just because it reminds me of this fun moment with my teammates.
Mm.
But I do really like Lover, just classic, but I
Hmm.
think He Knows is our team favorite from that album. What's yours?
I just love Cornelia Street.
Oh, yes, of course. And it makes me want to, of course, I Zillow Cornelia Street apartments. And then you're like, oh, wow, it's a block of only 5 apartments. Wow. Oh, so this is the one Taylor rented. And then you go on the street easy tour of her apartment. So, I've done all that stalking for sure. Related to Cornelia Street, that's a great song.
There's a live something. I don't know what it's on. I found it on maybe it's on YouTube. I don't know. It's on some streaming service of her one of her concerts. It might have been the London one where she's singing that live. And I had my boys. I've boys. My kids are all boys, but I had them all sit down on the couch and watch it with me. I was like, you guys are gonna like this kind of music, which is funny because my husband's like a big rock music guy. Pearl Jam, My Morning Jacket.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you're gonna listen to all of it, and you're gonna like it.
Did they become fans?
I mean, they know Taylor, but they're kind of more into like Pancake Robot and these like kids songs that are making me slowly lose my mind.
Yeah. That's
um,
funny.
okay, so you're sitting. We were just talking about this before we get on. You're sitting in front of some super cute wallpaper. Tell me about it and the painting beside
Yes.
it.
So I'm at my parents' house in Crested Butte. My mom not professionally does it, but she's a very good like interior designer decorator, and she picked out this beautiful peacock wallpaper behind me, and then she also painted this picture. Oh shoot,
You froze.
sorry.
That's okay.
So my painted this picture. So yeah, that's my story of where I am, and that's that. Yeah, cute wallpaper though.
Is it an office space or is it like a bedroom that you're sitting
It's
in?
my bedroom here.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, wow. Did your mom come
hmm
like design your house where that you live in now? Does she help you with that stuff?
I definitely ask her opinion on stuff, but it's not, you know, I enjoy it myself, so I didn't want to give her you know, too much bandwidth. I wanted to do it myself.
Okay, so Boss Mile, let's start there. Uh, Tell us what your goals were coming to Indiana. Why did you guys? I was so surprised you were coming to Indiana. Somebody at, I do a lot of work with St. Vincent here in Indianapolis, and someone that I know through them was like, "Hey, did you know that the Team Boss ladies are coming to Indiana?" And I'm like, "No." So tell us how that came about.
I've been working with the therapist at St. Vincent since 2014, and over the year, you know, we've just been checking in and chatting, and um, we were discussing with them how there's no track meets. USATF isn't providing any track meets. There's nothing, and my husband Joe was just asking everyone he knew who all over the country of like, what's it looking like over there? Like, our race is happening, whatever. And the our friends in Indy said, if we find a venue, would you want to come and race? And we're like, yeah.
Mm.
So they found a good venue for us, and we came out and raced, and it was really fun. And we ran fast, and it was this whole year, the training is valuable and important, but it's definitely nice to be rewarded with a race. You know, like I can look at it and say all the work I'm doing in 2020 will propel me and make me more successful in 2021, but it's still just satisfying to have a race effort and to have a result. And so both our mile in Colorado, which was the altitude, the Colorado state mile record attempt, and the Indy mile were just nice to have something to get excited for and have something to put your uniform on for, and you know, have a race at the end of the week that you're have a little bit of butterflies about. So it was really fun. And we have a couple more races left this season. And so we're heading to Nashville to race a 1500 there, August 15th. And so just trying to have a little bit of racing, but also not get too greedy and obsessive about getting all the things we want out of 2020.
Who are you partnering with for the Nashville race?
The Nashville race, actually, we don't have to host our own race this time, which is fun. Music City Distance Carnival is a race that's been happening in Nashville for the last several years. And so that meet is established and it's happening. And so athletes beyond our group will also be racing there, which will be fun to race other teams. And so yeah, that'll be a good, more familiar, more traditional race experience, being at a venue that you're not paying for the timing, you're not paying for insurance, you're not coordinating all the logistics, and you're just there to race. So it'll be a nice treat and a little bit back to what it used to be like.
Wow, mentioning that, I don't think anybody's watching any of these races thinking about those logistics going on behind it that you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's a few $1,000s to pay for USATF officials, to pay for timing, to pay for, again, insurance and masks and COVID tests. And there's a lot. And so it's that's how much we want this, and that's also how much we need this. Is we need to be able to put some good times down on paper to help us get into the meets we want to get into next year, to help secure contracts, to help us in our US rankings. And so it's all super important. But yeah, it's funny that as a professional athlete, I'm having to kind of fund my own races whereas like, LeBron James doesn't pay the light bill at the stadium he's working out in. But that's just kind of where we're at, and doing our best and trying to be really proactive and not wait for anyone else to hand it to us or give it to us.
Wow, that's so empowering. I think it might have been Aisha that retweeted or liked something that said like welcome us to your bubble or something, like the NBA, because they're having a season or something. I think I recollect seeing
yeah
that.
she did that.
Okay. I never thought about it that way. And maybe other people listening have, but I just haven't thought through all that. That's powerful that you guys are just taking matters into your own hands.
Yeah, it's kind of the way that my training group and Joe and I have always been since the beginning, trying to make our life happen for ourselves. And, you know, that's often reflected in how, you know, we pace our teammates and we pace races, and we don't count on someone else to like provide a fast pace for us. We try and get it done ourselves. And there's other groups in the country that do that as well, for sure. But I think this year it's our spirit of self-sustainability and making life and making races and making our careers happen for ourselves and really taking ownership of that is definitely reflected in us putting on races. And it feels natural. It doesn't feel right for us to sit back and just wait for something to happen, wait for USATF to put on a race for us, or wait for someone else. If it's easy to sit back and complain and moan and whine that, oh, the season's not happening, but are you complaining and just sitting there, or are you actively trying to improve your own situation? Like, I can't stand people complaining and not trying to fix it, or not trying to be active. And so we've always been really proactive with the things we want in our life and in our career. And the races, yeah, it's a weird part of 2020 that we've been doing, but it's been fun too, seeing other groups and other people, you know, the Bowerman and then the other Nike groups in Portland kind of putting on their own races as well, and just trying to make entertainment and make some fast performances. And you know, I think American athletes, I think we will do well in Tokyo next year, but it was important for us to be able to get some good racing in. And I think at least in the distance side, there's been a lot of ownership in that, and athletes trying to just get themselves out there and race, even if the world isn't presenting them the best opportunities.
Okay, so I'm thinking about athletes that like aren't in group settings, like aren't on teams like your team or Bowerman, or NAZ Elite. What do those athletes do in these situations? Because it's, you know, financially doing it by yourself is probably challenging, and also like logistically, what do you do?
Yeah, so my training group isn't sponsored by a one shoe company. I'm sponsored by New Balance, but there's different sponsors. And so I think we're somewhere in the middle where, you know, the Nike groups or NAZ Elite, they have a shoe company backing them and helping fund some of their race attempts. So, but they still have to plan it and do it all themselves. But where we have to foot the bill and do all the logistics and all of that, where we're lucky and where we're like those other branded groups, is that we have the numbers to say, okay, we have 5 people that can participate in this race. And if you're someone who's training alone or just with one other person, yeah, it sucks. You don't have, that's a really difficult situation to be in. And I've, you know, talked with several of my friends who are not in big training groups and train on their own. And, you know, someone replied to me once and was like, where are you finding all these races? And I was like, oh no, like we're just doing them. Like they're not there. And it is hard. And that's a challenging situation to be in, because if you're training by yourself, you can't put your own race on. And I mean, you could, but it'd be really challenging to just run the race by yourself. USATF won't sanction it unless there's 3 finishers. So there's just much more complicated layers if you're alone. And so it is really great to have a team of people that I can call on and count on, and we can rely on each other to help make these races successful.
I love that about your group, that you all have your own unique individual sponsors. And I heard you talk about the group and how it kind of came about on Clean Sport Collective, with Kara and Shanna, and like Aisha came to you guys when she was looking to train, and you didn't even have the intentions to form this group, but you guys have really formed this group that is like a force to be reckoned with. And it seems like your camaraderie is so amazing. So I guess like in your mind, does that matter that you have different sponsors? Like, how do you feel that makes you guys more unique? What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's obviously um it's what we've chosen and what we like. Aisha, at the end of 2016, she and I were both kind of floating, and Joe and I had agreed that he would coach me, but she was looking for something new, and I was just sitting there. And so she took a really, really big risk and moved to Colorado. And the immediate connection and immediate feeling of this is right and this feels good made me feel like, yeah, we can grow this more. And my relationship with Joe is funny because he's typically always pushing the envelope of dreaming big and wanting to do more and wanting, to grow the group or do a business or whatever it is. He's always dreaming and creating. And I'm always the one like kind of holding him back, and like the more conservative one. And so we're a good balance because I think it's made us be really careful with the athletes that have chosen to come here. We're not like out there recruiting people. Joe turns down people all the time, but if there's someone that we feel like physically has the skills to be a good fit in our group and then has a personality that we feel like, we click with, and they're eager to move to Boulder and join this and join into our system and fully buy in, that's a really special person. And so when it comes about, like, we're happy to add them. And so over the years, we've definitely grown. And a lot of the people that have joined our team are people that I had relationships with, you know, for years and years prior to them joining our team. And we were just friends. Some of the people I just cheered for from afar and never met or never knew. But we have a really good dynamic, and we just love to work hard. We get along. We don't fight. We know that there's days that someone might shine and you might be having a hard day, but in those days you got to, recognize your teammates shine and try and grab onto it and have them help you. We have a really wide spectrum of skills and distances, and it's just a really great group to be a part of. And it definitely, at the end of 2016, it wasn't a place I pictured my life being. 4 years ago, I was getting ready to fly down to Rio, and I was in a different training group, and definitely didn't see that 4 years later I'd have a group of 10 or 12 different people I was training with, and Joe would be my coach, and we'd be happy and successful. But it's worked out.
Yeah. Okay. So, because before Joe, for those listening who might not know, you were with Mark Wetmore and Heather Boroughs. 8 years. What are the big differences between their coaching style and Joe's coaching style? Like, how have you grown in ways with Joe that you weren't growing in the other setting?
I think there's a lot of overlap in the sense that, I was running 80 to 85 miles a week with them, and I still run about that same amount now. And I was living in Boulder then, and I still live in Boulder now. But a lot of the training that I'm doing with Joe has gravitated more towards a lot more volume in workouts and a lot longer quality work. And so my first year with Joe, I was, doing long tempos that I had never considered or tried or done anything like that. And so I think to really make it simple, I probably train a little bit more like a 5K, even 10K person now. And when I was in my old program, I trained more like a 1500 runner, steepler. And so that the work has just changed. And then also how the work is done is different too. But that's probably the biggest difference. And I think that was an area that was kind of the next frontier logically that I had to tackle and had to be able to conquer. In college, I ran 4:06 for the 15 and was good at the steeple. And so I kind of had grown that side of my training pretty well. But it definitely needed to tackle the longer stuff. And even though I haven't raced that longer stuff yet, it's been a bigger focus of my training.
I mean, it makes sense from the outside looking in, thinking of a steeplechaser, because it's so much strength involved in that you would start doing those longer workouts. I heard you also mention that you had been planning to do a 10K before the whole pandemic. So, when I heard you say that, though, I was like, dang, that is far for a steeplechaser. What is it? Just that's the logic behind the training you guys are doing, and did that intimidate you?
Yeah, I was planning on racing a 10K at one of the first Stanford meets, and then a 5K at Peyton Jordan, and then get into my steeple season, do a couple 15. So it was on paper going to be a great season. And so last year I paced the 10K at Peyton Jordan and ran a little over 4 miles of it, maybe 4.5. I can't quite remember, but at 5:03 mile pace, which I don't know what pace that is for 10K. I should. And then I paced a 5K a few weeks later at Oxy at right around like 15:10 pace maybe, for 4K. And so doing both of those pace jobs made me feel like, oh, I can do this distance. And prior to ever doing those pacing jobs, it felt really intimidating, that like, oh my gosh, 25 laps, no freaking way. And then kind of last year, me exposing myself to that stuff through pacing made me feel like, oh, this could be painful but fun, and would be useful just for my training, because I'm doing that type of training anyway in March and April. And so to do a 10K at the beginning of May and a 5K at the end of May, like, really would suit in well with what my training would be gearing me up for anyway. But I'll have to try again next year.
Yeah, dang. I think it's a really important point that you had brought up earlier too, just like that you guys are creating these races for yourselves because you don't want to enter 2021, the Olympic year. I'm just saying this right now. Hopefully it happens, right? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
the more time goes on, I'm like, oh my gosh, are people wondering, like, is this even going to happen in 2021? But you can't just like get rusty for a whole year and not race. That would be not good. So let's talk about what you guys did at the Boss Mile. Corey ran 4:21, Danny 4:23, you 4:23. I felt like after the race when we talked, was that the strategy to like usher Corey into like a really fast 4:21?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a steepler, and I try and be successful in the mile and the 1500, but my career is not defined by how quickly I can run a mile, and I need to be better at the mile. And I think that's physically and mentally, it's something that I need to continue to work on, but that the stakes for me in Indy are lower than a true miler. And so, we had Dom Scott pace, through 800, and she did great. And then my assignment was to, take the next 400 or 500 meters. And so I did, and I was happy to take that role, especially because I wanted Corey and Danny to fly and to run really fast, which they did. So my last, 250, I started getting a little tired, but was still, I came through 1500 meters in almost a PR. I think I ran 4:04.8 there, and my PR is 4:04.3. And so I kept it together kind of, but I wish I would have run a little bit stronger that last lap. It was kind of lame, but Corey ran great and Danny ran great, and I ran well too. So it was overall a really fun experience, and Dom did a really good job pacing, and then someone has to take over. So it was cool that it was me, and that I was able to keep the pace going and continue, not slow it down, so that we could get to the bell and get to 300 meters to go feeling good.
Side note, I'm interviewing Dom tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, though. You had run the 4:32 Colorado mile. And I thought I read that your mile PR was 4:31. So like you still PR'd by like what, 7 seconds or 8
Well,
seconds?
yeah, so the mile just isn't really run outdoors very
Yeah.
much. And so in college I ran 4:29 twice indoors, and then my 4:31 is from racing the Hoka Long Island Mile a couple years ago. Um, but my 1,500-meter PR is 4:04,
Okay.
and I've run 4:05 maybe twice, and 4:06 a couple of times, and 4:04 a couple of times. So that's more my PR is more of that 4:04. But
Sure.
yeah, my mile PR was technically 4:31. So it was a good day, and just being out there together. And then after the race, we did a workout, which just anytime we can get to sea level, it's really fun to get to do a big workout after. So we made good use of our time.
Yeah, so you came through in 4:04 in this mile in the 15. So
Yeah,
you like
yeah,
tied your PR in a mile race in the 15.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ready to go faster for
Yeah.
sure.
That's awesome. I was so shocked. I mean, I don't know why, but when you were like, "Yeah, we're going to go do a workout now," because, well, I know you guys are 2 hours behind, so it probably didn't feel so late, but it was like 10 p.m., so I was ready for bed and I'm like, "I can't believe they're going to go do a workout now."
Well, after a race, no matter what time it is, whether it's midnight or 2 p.m., you're never tired. So, yeah, we weren't, the time zone didn't matter, but we definitely were not tired. And yeah, we did a little workout and then went and had some pizza. And then, yeah, we're trying to fall asleep probably by 1:30 or so.
Mhm. Where did you get pizza? Did you get it in Marion or did you get back to Indy first?
We went back to Carmel,
Oh,
and
Carmel.
we went to a friend's house and had some pizza.
Oh, fun. Awesome. Okay. So Nashville's next. Do you guys, are you saying what distance you're racing?
It's a 1,500.
15.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you're going after that 4:04.
Yeah, yeah, I hope. I mean, I need to do better. 4:04 is not good enough. So I have to get better at that. And like I said, I ran 4:06 in college. So that was 7 years ago. And so I need to crack that down. It's hard because I'm always so I usually do 1,500 kind of early in the season because I'm so protective of making my steeplechase races, good, and wanting to be in all the diamond leagues and the international races to get experience against the other women. Um, and so every year it's like, I feel like I'm fit, but like there's no way or location to run a 5K or a 15. So this year is fun for that reason, that I can, have a couple cracks at the 1,500. But yeah, I definitely have to try and PR. My current PR, like I said, is 4:04.3 or 4:04.4, something like that. So we'll see.
Okay. What do you love about the 15 that you don't like? What kind of feelings that you don't get in the steeple?
The 1,500 is over so fast. It's like, I mean, it's, you blink and you're on the bell lap. Um, the difference though is the pace, just obviously being that much faster, you're never comfortable. And in the steeplechase, you are running a pace, or that pace in the steeple is really where my body feels good. Running 70s to 72s, whereas in the 15, it's like 64, 65s. And so it's just a different, that rhythm in my legs is always feels unusual because I'm so comfortable running 70, 72s. But yeah, it's over so quick. So that's fun. But sometimes I forget to I forget that okay, oh my gosh, the finish line is right there. I really need to boogie.
Talk to us about adding Danny to the team. That's exciting. I had her on the show like right after she joined the team. So, yeah, just talk to us about that addition.
Danny's awesome. She obviously had such a great career at Colorado. She's won countless awards because she's one of a kind with what she's been able to achieve. And so I just have, rooted for her from afar, and talked with her, on and off throughout the years, just congratulating her and everything. But we didn't really overlap. I left there when she was a freshman. And so we overlapped some, but I didn't get to know her very well. But she is really, really hardworking, really eager to learn and to adapt into our program and to, jump in both feet ready to go. So it's been really fun to train with her, and she has the skills to contribute right away, which is really fun. Sometimes someone joins the group and they've never trained at altitude, or they've never done uh, some longer workouts or long runs like how we do them. And so for her to just already be living in Boulder, the adaptation to altitude is so much easier. And I think there's um, there's definitely some workouts that she's like, woo, like she's never done a post race workout. And so after our race in Indy, I think she was a little surprised at how hard it was. So there's obviously things that she's still learning, but it's been really fun to have her. And I think she has a very, very bright future. And I'm excited that I get to run alongside her.
I was just talking, I just interviewed Shayla Houlihan yesterday.
Uh-huh.
And she was talking about how, as a coach, like when she talks to her people that she's coaching, that each individual person has their own unique assets that they're bringing to the team. Because I think I was asking her, like, how do you make the slowest runner on your team feel just as valuable as the fastest runner on your team, kind of deal. And it sounds like you are kind of bringing those same sentiments true with the people as you bring new athletes into your group. Like, everybody's a little bit different and they're all bringing a little bit something different to the group.
Yeah. And usually it's a different set of skills, but sometimes it's also just bringing a good energy and personality and happiness. And so, on our women's side, we have, 1,500 up to the marathon. And so there's definitely going to be workouts that our marathoner, Laura Thweet, if we're doing fast 200s on the track, she's not going to be as fast as Corey McGee. But then there's workouts that if we're doing, mile repeats, that Laura's going to be crushing. And so the nice thing is, one, our training, we really cover a lot of work. We cover a lot of different distances and types of workouts, and it's not all just hammering at the track fast stuff, and it's not all just tempo pace long slow stuff. It's a really good mix, and so every workout there's a different challenge. And the nice thing is, having so many girls, you really can count on each other to the person whose kind of skill set that workout best matches up with. That person is kind of like the tough one and the one who's going to be leading the ship. And then the other girls can kind of just be quiet and be tough and be, trying their best. And then the other days, the roles reverse. So it is nice. Everyone kind of has their places to shine. And then, yeah, it's also just bringing the right personality and energy and kindness and humor to the group, which, everyone has their different ways of contributing in that way, but that's a big part of it too.
I mean, I feel like we just need to pause and talk about Laura at the Olympic trials. How exciting was that for you to watch as her teammate?
It was so cool. She is really an incredible woman. Joe has said over and over again that she's the toughest person on our team, hands down. She is so gritty and not afraid to hurt, which is she can take more pain than anyone I know, and also embraces it and isn't scared of it. And so the trials was painful, and we saw the carnage that the trials resulted in. And Laura was leading in the wind on crazy hills, fearless. And a couple times early on, Joe yelled like, tuck in, and she kept charging along. He's like, all right, well, she is confident and she's running her race, and if she's excited and willing to like grit like this and hurt, then like go for it. So to finish fifth in that field of women that are just some iconic women are in that field, and one of the best female distance runners in US history are in that field. And for her to finish fifth was really special, and we were so proud of her. Joe and Aisha went to Atlanta to watch. I had a different engagement, so I couldn't come, but I was watching on TV, and my heart was just, as I'm sure everyone watching, like physically in pain with stress and anxiety, and watching someone else compete is so much worse than just competing yourself. You just feel so helpless that you can't be in control of their results. But I was so proud of her, and she really earned an incredible, that was an incredible moment. And she was going to race fall marathons and really have time to shine this fall. And obviously that didn't work out, but she's obviously very talented, but really just a tough girl. And also on the side is so kind and warm and funny and generous, and someone who I'm so happy to be a teammate of. And she and I were roommates in college. She lived with me and Joe in college, and so we've just been super tight for years. But it's really fun to get to be with her.
I love that. Well, I have to say, I've done like 265 episodes, and I feel like I know that my husband always says it's recency bias. Like after I get off an interview, I'll be like, "That was so good," and he's like, "Was it, or do you just have recency bias? Like you felt like you're feeling that energy?" But I think she's like one of my top 10 favorite interviews. Her energy is like contagious, and like one of the easiest interviews I've ever done because it was just so easy to talk to her.
She laughs at everything.
Uh-huh.
She is so grounded, and you can talk to her about anything super serious, and she has just the right thing to say. You can talk to her about anything shallow and stupid, and she has the perfect right thing to say. And it's just so genuine, and she has such a good heart. And I'm really happy that she was able to shine at the trials and was so close to making that team. But she's one of a kind. She's awesome.
Okay, so that makes me think of Joe coaching, because in her episode we talked a lot about, well, like really it felt like she resurrected her career at the trials because she had been dealing with injury for so long. And in that episode she talks so much about how she's running really low mileage but doing all kinds of cross training and strength training, and it just speaks to like the how diverse Joe is in how he coaches. I mean, because you guys have this wide spectrum of distances, but not only that, unique styles that have to go into play, because I mean, she can't run 100 miles a week like some of these marathoners.
Yeah, Joe does a really good job of finding the training that works for each person. And we still run, almost every workout is together and the same, but he'll adapt it to adjust for that specific person's skill set and needs. So I think he doesn't have an ego in that way. He doesn't think this is one size fits all. The training that works for me doesn't work for someone else, and vice versa. And he's not trying to say Emma's won X, Y, and Z, so you have to do exactly what she's doing. And if you can't match that, you're a failure. It's okay, this is the training that works for Emma, and then this is the training that works for Corey and for Dom, and so through that he's able to, I think, keep us all a lot healthier and just fresh, and we kind of trust that he's really paying attention to what we as individuals need. And so it's been fun to watch him just as his wife, like grow as a coach and see how his kind of education in this sport and coaching has grown. And seeing someone like Laura, who was a marathoner, who I think averaged 65 miles a week leading up to the Olympic trials. I think
Crazy.
most people would think that to be a successful marathoner, you have to run, over 100 miles a week. But in those 65 miles, she did a 3-hour long run at Magnolia Road. Like, she's doing really good work, but just not forcing this stereotype of what you think it takes to be a good marathoner. And so that was cool to see Laura and Joe collaborate and make that, and have it result in something so successful.
Okay, so in 2016, you get a bronze, but you're a silver medalist now. in Rio. But then in 2017, you go on to win gold at the World Championships, and that's a year into Joe coaching you. So do you think like your mentality with training, with racing, do you think anything changed in that 1 year?
I think I continued to like grow my confidence as an athlete. Winning the Olympic bronze made me like so hungry for like I want to do this again. And also at the time there was, you know, at London 2017, a lot of American distance runners were winning medals. Jenny Simpson, Amy Hastings, and I remember watching those performances and being like, if they can do this, I can do this, and this is what I want. And so the training definitely like I spent more time training in Crested Butte at 9,000 feet, and I had different race tactics, and I like I touched on earlier, did a lot more kind of strength training and longer workouts. And so I definitely physically felt like I was really fit. But I came into London 2017 ranked 6th in the world. Like it just wasn't even close. And so that's like when Joe being Joe was like a little hard and was like, okay, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you die, but you are going to be with the leaders for 2,000 meters. And I like, and if you get last, I'll love you anyway. And it's okay. But like, you have got to be with the leaders for 2,000 meters and then anything can happen. And so I think him being obviously my coach, but then my husband and the person I trust the most in the world, him being that like aggressive with what the plan had to be, made it so that I could be successful and that it felt like I felt like crap. It felt so fast. It felt so hard through 2,000 meters. And I was like, I cannot believe I have to do this. It felt terrible. But then I got to 2,000 meters and, you know, you just start believing in yourself and you start counting down the laps. And all of a sudden you have 2 water jumps to go. And you know, I started feeling more and more energized and feeling better. And girls started dropping off and dropping off. And so that race was a big surprise to win, to run 9:02 was really special. But him kind of forcing me to meet that challenge was big. And then in 2019, he kind of during 2019 season forced me to do the same thing in a couple races where he said, you're going out and with the leader and I don't care what happens to you. Like you can die. And in one race I did, I went out with the leader because he told me to, and he said, if you died, that's okay. And I totally had a terrible race. It was Zurich. I went out in 2:53 for the first K when I usually go out in like 3 minutes. But then by practicing that and putting my body through that experience, I was more prepared for Doha World Championships and the that race. And so him challenging me and both race tactics, but then also in practice, challenging me to do things I'd never done before, it's been really great at helping me physically grow and get better, but also mentally making me grow and raise my own bar and my own expectations.
Wow, it's really like, when do you decide, or when does coach decide, or you personally, like, to take those risks? Because in order to succeed and be like a world champion, you have to take those risks, but sometimes you have to calculate like when it's not the right time. So it's interesting when he decides you're staying with the leaders and when you're not.
Mm-hmm. So in 2019 in Doha, because 3 weeks prior, I took that big risk and went with the leader and then died and ended up getting 5th or 6th. He and I had a discussion of like, okay, do you want to go with the leader and risk that you'll fall apart again, like Zurich, or do you want to run conservatively for a medal? And I voted medal. And so, and that's how it played out. I ran conservatively and was able to get second and PR'd in the race and was still, you know, super happy about it. So there are discussions in that way. And in the big championship races at the US championships, it's definitely more collaborative. But in some of those international races or Diamond League races, it's like, why not just go for it? And full send, see what happens. And a couple times I failed, but the times that he's been most frustrated with me is he if I just run like a baby, if I just run like a conservative little race and nothing, I don't run very fast or I don't run slow. I'm just medium. And so in those races, it's like, well, if you tried harder and risked something and then failed, I'd be more proud of you than like if you just like bopped around being a baby. And so he's able to be really honest, and we're able to have these conversations and make game plans together, which is, a nice thing having your coach be your husband, is you can really be honest and collaborate and say like you were being a wimp, or like can yell and say like, no, I wasn't. Trust me, that was the hardest I could go. So you can have those conversations and trust in each other.
I feel like now every time I see you watch you race, I'm going to be like, is she bopping around? What is Joe doing?
Exactly. Sometimes the plan is to bop around, though. Sometimes that is the plan. And then, as long as I'm following what the game plan was that we set out, he's okay. But yeah, if I deviate and do something lame, he gets annoyed. Fair enough.
Is she bopping the first 2K, or is she all in?
Yeah.
Okay, so you held the American record for a long time, and it sounds like, it seems like you and the other steeplechasers have really great camaraderie and relationship, and you're friends with Courtney. But what did that feel like when Courtney took that record from you?
I think people, because I've been asked this a lot before, but I think people expected me to be devastated and heartbroken, and it sucked. And like, it's like, damn, that sucks. But I was in the race and ran the best race I could that day. And I just was having an off day, and Courtney ran a great race. And she's someone who I really respect. She's always been kind, and she's always been positive, and someone that I look forward to seeing in the call room at races. And she and I, keep up with each other. She came to the very first Elk Run race in 2017. And so she and I get along really well. And if she was an asshole, then I'd probably have a different story, but she's a really good person, and she's a really, she's a fierce competitor. She's really good, but she earned it that day. And I know her team and how hard they work. I know how hard she worked to earn that. And I had a bad day and she had a great day. And I think I can walk away from it in that moment. I was able to walk away from it. I think I gave her a hug and went and changed my spikes and was just like, damn. And then cooled down, got a massage, and flew home. It's not something that I've dwelled on. And it's me taking back the American record is a goal. I think Courtney and I both really want to break 9 minutes. I think we're both physically ready to and fit enough to. But we're able to be honest with each other and say like, yeah, of course I want to win, and I want to break the AR, and I want to break 9. But in the moment, I mean, she earned it, and I didn't have a good race and she did. And it's fun to have a US teammate who you can respect, who is going to make you be your very best. In 2017, I kept looking up at the Jumbotron and being like, oh my God, Courtney's still here. Okay. Oh my God, she's still here. Like it keeps you accountable. And it's definitely been a fun rivalry the last several years, but, I'm hoping I can break 9, and that's the plan and that's the goal, but I know that's Courtney's plan and goal as well.
Well, I mean, hopefully you guys can push each other to do that, and like you can both break 9. It's interesting to hear you say that you were watching her on the Jumbotron. I don't think of you guys actually watching the Jumbotron. Do you always do that?
Yeah, I get a lot of my data from the Jumbotron. And so there's been races that the Jumbotron is like showing the high jump or showing like a different if there's the leader's way ahead, they show the leader, and I'm just like chilling in second. And so there's definitely times that I've looked up and not been able to use the Jumbotron as, you know, a provider of information. But I look up at it all the time. And every lap I was looking up in London and counting. I mean, if an athlete is looking up at the Jumbotron, you can often assume that they're counting medals and counting bodies. At the Olympics or World Championships, they can, you know, that's at least often what I'm doing is, so it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 3 to go. And then you're like, okay, I'm in the top 3. Okay, good. Now I gotta like look forward to winning or whatever it is. And at the Olympic trials, it's that way too. You're just counting bodies, being like, okay, okay, here we go.
So is it, you know, you guys have created all these races for yourselves this year. How are you dealing with it mentally though that you aren't doing any steeplechase races though to stay like sharp on that?
You know, it will be weird that this year, in all likelihood, I'm not going to steeple. But in 2013, my season ended at NCAA's. I had a sacral stress fracture, so I didn't get to race through the summer. I didn't get to do any of that. And 2014 was one of my best seasons ever. I ran way faster than I did the year before, and I felt really strong and was doing, you know, really competitive in all my races. And so I think I've just had enough experiences of steeple droughts or, you know, injuries or whatever that makes you just be like, I can get through this. I know what I need to do. And I think there's a lot of trust in your coach, that they'll get you there. So you know, I haven't done a single hurdle drill. I haven't done a single flight of hurdles all year. I probably should. But I think I just have faith that, like, you know, it's just like riding a bike. You just gotta, next year I'll just get back to it.
Okay. I saw on your Instagram you posted today that today would have been the finals in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, in theory, you know, it's March, everything got postponed. And so it's not like the athletes that went to NCAA indoors, if they're there and it gets canceled. And it's like, what? So it's been a long digestion of that news. And so it's not a big deal. I feel like it's just a little weird to think about. So just wanted to put it out there and say, like, yeah, well, this is that. And we're supposed to be in Tokyo, and just hope next year I can make the team and try and crack another medal again. But just got to keep working. And it's just weird today. Yeah. But it's not, I'm not like depressed or heartbroken about it. It's just one of those things in 2020 that's just a little different.
It is what it is. It is. Okay, so you are home right now, and you mentioned the Elk Run a little bit ago. So you guys have gone, this is a run you and Joe put on to support families going through cancer care, which is just crazy considering that your mom is going through that right now. So talk about that race a little bit and what it means to you.
Yeah. So 4 years ago, or 3.5-ish years ago, you know, Joe had been coaching me, and we were like, we just should do more. Like, we're just, time's going by, and I'm running on the track and I'm running well, but like, what are we doing in life? Like, where's our impact? And I think it's so easy as an athlete, and I don't blame any athlete that does this and thrives like this, but to just be so focused on yourself, your goals, your life, and not really look up and be like, what is the world around me needing? What can my influence do to help? And so Crested Butte, where I grew up, is this gem of a town. It's so beautiful. It's my favorite place to run in the whole world. And there's this cancer group called Living Journeys that they provide financial support and counseling services to people battling cancer and their families. And so an incredible group of people. And my mom served on their board for 10 years, and I used to volunteer with them. I used to volunteer with them in high school. So it's a small town and everyone knows everyone and everyone is involved with everything. So yeah, we decided to make this 5K in Crested Butte, and one, to fundraise for Living Journeys, but to also bring people to Crested Butte in the off season when it's beautiful fall leaves, and bring a little bit of business and tourism, but then also to create an event for elite runners. You know, there's so few opportunities being an elite runner or a sub elite racer in Colorado. If you're not getting into the Diamond League races, it's really hard to support yourself if you don't have a sponsor. And so we put up good prize money too.
Oh, cool.
So we were able to, for our first 2 years, they were in person. So we were able to, you know, contribute back a little bit to the local running scene and the elite running community in Colorado with prize money. And so it's super fun event. Lots of running, but then also lots of music and dancing and drinking and all the fun. And so that happened in 2017 and 2018 in Crested Butte. And then in 2019, we had to go virtual because I was in Switzerland training for the World Championships. And then this year was supposed to be in person, but you know, life. So we're virtual again. And in our previous 3 races, we raised a total of $90,000 for Living Journeys. And so we're hoping to raise $40,000 this year. And it's virtual. You can sign up at elkrun5k.com and you get a really cool race hat, a tote bag, hand sanitizer, a mask.
Hand sanitizer.
Yeah, a bib, a racing bib, and then little bib snaps that go on it. Anyway, so you get a lot of cool stuff, and the proceeds go to Living Journeys. And we hope to be back in person in Crested Butte next year. I hope. It's a super fun event, but it's been you know, it's a lot of work for Joe and I, but we really believe in it and are proud to have, you know, been able to contribute and make our community a little bit healthier and happier and better off.
Yeah, I mean, I resonate with what you said so much. Not as an elite runner, but just in life. Like you're saying, like, oh my gosh, time is going by. Like we're just, you know, it's 2019. You know, it's 2020. What am I doing? And will this all matter? And so it's cool to see you guys actually put that into action, even though there's already enough on your plate. You know, I noticed too that you guys were raising money for Black high school students with the Black Lives Matter movement for your Colorado Mile.
Yeah, we raised $30,000 for the Sachs Foundation, which is a group in Colorado that gives college scholarships to Black Colorado high school students that have a good GPA and want to go to college. So that was a great effort. And yeah, just trying to make the world a little bit better. And luckily, I have really awesome people around me and followers and supporters that donate and contribute and support all of these things I'm trying to do. Because if I was just alone in a vacuum, I couldn't do any of it. So it's nice to have everyone support and believe in it. And the fun thing is a lot of my runner peers, a lot of my professional peers contribute and sign up for Elk Run or contribute to the Sachs Foundation, whatever it is. It's a really, I think it's a surprising thing for a lot of people how close the elite running community is and in the US. And especially on the women's side, I just feel like there's so many awesome American women that really support each other and are vocal about supporting each other. And so I've been lucky to have some of those women kind of help me along the way too.
Okay, and then what was the organization you guys were raising awareness and funds for in Indiana?
That was the coach of the Indiana Wesleyan University, his wife's organization, and it's about helping sex trafficking victims.
Okay.
So I don't know as much about it, but yeah.
Okay, I just remember him talking about it on the loudspeaker there.
Right.
Yeah, that's so awesome that you guys are doing it. And by the way, the Elk Run merch is like so cute.
So cute. It sold out so quickly, and everyone's like, "Are you making more?" I was like, "Nope, I got enough going on." Sorry.
Who's your graphic designer?
We work with a guy named Andrew Sears. His Instagram is Sapwood Designs Sapwood Designs. Anyway, he's a really great designer, and he's designed all of our Elk Run logos and merch over the years.
Okay, real quick before we do end a podcast, give us a little information on being the vice president of the Athletic Association.
Yeah, so that's another thing I do. We Christian Taylor reached out to me at the end of 2019. He had formed this group kind of in response to the Diamond League getting rid of
Mm-hmm.
5 events, and just feeling like there's constantly decisions being made at the top without really consideration for how that is going to impact athletes' lives and livelihoods. Um, and there's not real transparency in the decision making process, and athletes are just expected to say thank you, okay. And so Christian is an incredibly decorated athlete, and but beyond that, he is very, very humble and hardworking and very smart. And he formed this group and asked me to be a part of it. And really, he and I, through the spring, were kind of forming our board and working behind the scenes through a lot of stuff. And the goal of the Athletics Association is to just really advocate for what athletes are wanting, but to also ask athletes. No one asks.
Mm.
So we want to be able to ask thousands of athletes what they're needing and what they're wanting and what their opinion is. So we have a great board of, you know, Olympic gold medalists, world record holders, national champions, covering all different events, all different countries, male and female. And so the goal is, as big decisions are made in our sport, we'll be able to communicate to athletes, um, thousands of athletes. You know, we did a little mini version of this before we officially launched. We polled athletes, elite athletes, and asked if they want the Olympics postponed or not, or how their training is progressing. And 4,000 athletes responded to that just in our very first little attempt at it. So um, the goal is to just hear what athletes want and need, and then amplify that voice and advocate and fight for the rights of athletes, and communicate that. So we just launched kind of officially a couple weeks ago, and it's going to be, I think, really powerful and special to, yeah, tell athlete stories and be able to say, hey, we are the sport. This is for us. You're making all these decisions that you think is the best thing for us, but you're not even asking.
Wow. Okay, so this was just his idea. Like he was just like, I want to form this.
Yeah. And he's like known as just an incredible, incredible athlete. And he can't even fit all of his medals around his neck. But he just was kind of sick of being uh, out of the loop, and feeling that if he's out of the loop and he's the best in the world at his
Mm.
event, and his opinion is being neglected, what are all the other athletes, the elite athletes in track and field globally, how do they feel? You know, Christian has a good voice, and he is well connected, and he has the ear of people that matter, but they don't care about his voice. And so if his opinion doesn't matter to them, to the decision makers, why would they listen to everyone else? And so I think, I commend him so much for adding this to his plate in an Olympic year, because at the time we thought the Olympics
Right.
would happen this year, and for just creating the change that he wants to see and really leading the charge. And he's a very smart, determined guy, and it's fun to get to work alongside him in this.
Wow. Okay, my next dream big guest is to get him on the podcast. Sounds like you'd be an
Yeah.
amazing guest. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for all that hard work. Are you still having like emotional feelings about steeple being removed from the Diamond Leagues?
It's just challenging. And I think it makes us have to be creative with what we'll do moving forward. Um, I'm not convinced that anything is permanent. I think that we can always evolve it. And I think I don't like to play the victim
Mm.
in things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm trying to, whatever the situation is, trying to absorb the information and either fix it if I can, or take another avenue, or, I'm not just going to sit back and complain about something. I mean, I'll complain, but I'm also going to try and make the change happen. So, we'll see what next year looks like with what the schedule is, what events are included in certain races. And then, this year we got good practice at putting on our own races. So, maybe that'll have to be the case.
Speaking of your determination, I heard you mention in an interview that your mom and your sisters like your biggest role models. And so do you feel like you got that from them?
I think my mom and my sister, I just admire and adore for so many reasons, but I think the tenacity to not like be on the sidelines of your own life came more from Joe. In high school, I was a bit of a head case, hated running. I would drop out of races. And Joe moved to Crested Butte halfway through his junior year, and was like, started calling me out and being like, why are you doing that? Why are you dropping out of races? Why aren't you trying? And all the excuses that I gave, he just didn't care. And so that's, I think, his best trait, which can be so frustrating when you're just wanting to have a pity party, is he doesn't buy your excuses, whatever it is, whether it's, oh, so-and-so pacer did a bad job, or, oh, the Diamond League cut this, or whatever your complaint or excuse is, he doesn't buy it. And he just was like, you're in charge of you. If you want to fix something, go do it. Or there's obviously things that are out of your control, which, hello, the Olympic year, getting canceled. But if there are things that you can control or change, like, he's not going to buy your excuse. If a pacer's doing a bad job in front of you, go around them, is his thought. And things like my mom's cancer diagnosis or the Olympics getting postponed, things that I cannot control, he's very supportive and lets you feel sorry for yourself. But the stuff that you can improve, he won't have that sympathy for you.
Wow. I have so many thoughts. First, your mom's cancer diagnosis, how's she doing?
She's doing well. Her tumors are all stable. They're still there, and not like they're going to be there forever, but they're stable, and she feels really strong, and she's done 11 rounds of chemotherapy. But she's a fighter, and she's strong, and she feels good, every day except the day that she gets her chemo infusion. And so she's doing really well, and it's just been really fun to be home and be living with my parents. Joe splits time between Boulder and Crested Butte, and so it's just good to spend time with them, and she's doing really well. But yeah, thanks.
Yeah, when you shared that she was going through that, I then did a deep dive on her profile, and your parents are so cute. They're love each other so much.
I know, they're really cute. They call each other their boyfriend and girlfriend, and they're very much in love, which is sweet. And that's another nice thing about being home is the rogue day that my mom doesn't feel good, to get to be there for my dad, and keep him company and keep him happy and distracted, and all of that is another perk of being home.
So there's 4 of you kids, right?
4 kids, and we all happen to be at home this week, so it's crazy, and it's a good little family reunion. But yeah, we have four kids, and then my sister has 2 kids, and my brother has 1 daughter, so there's 3 grandbabies running around as well.
That's so fun. Do you love being an aunt?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so much easier than being a mom, I think. From what I can tell, but I still get to do all the snuggles and loves and hugs and watch them grow up, which is, that's really fun. I live really close to my sister, and she and I are best friends, and so I've been able to see her kids almost every day of their lives, except if I'm traveling racing or something. So it's been being an aunt is very fun, and I hope to be a mom one day, but right now I got a couple other things to do first.
I saw your mom posted something with the grandkids, and she said like the hardest part of being a mom is, and then she's like dot 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 the children, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
yes, it is. I have 4 kids too, so it's fun to hear from other people who have experienced growing up with so many siblings. It's like I mean, the more time goes on, the less you see bigger families, and
Hmm.
so it's just fun to hear from other 4 kid families.
Yeah, and Joe is one of 5, so he's from a
Oh
big family too. So
wow.
we both have super close relationships with our siblings and all of that. So it's fun.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are you okay on time? I promise we'll go to end a
Yeah.
podcast very soon. Okay. Um, I'm just intrigued by the Joe thing. When you said he moved to Butte his senior year, did his family just move there? And when he was calling you out for quitting in races, were you already dating at that point?
So he, at the time, Crested Butte had a private ski academy that happened to have a really good running coach named Trent Sanderson. And Joe was starting his junior year, and he just was kind of over it. He's from Wisconsin, and he was wanting something new in terms of like a coach and a team and running. And his dream was to run in college, and he just felt like he wasn't making the strides necessary. So little self-starter Joe, instead of
Mm.
complaining, he just researched what he could do, and he brought it up to his parents and said, "Can I move to Colorado? There's a boarding school that has a good running coach."
Wow.
And they were like, "I guess." So he went to this boarding school the second half of his junior year, and then his mom and little brother, who love Colorado, they were able to convince Joe's dad and his sisters, like, let us just move out to help Joe and be there. So their family like kind of split time for a year for Joe's senior year. And so his mom and brother lived in Crested Butte, and Joe and I started dating spring of senior year, but he was calling me out on my BS
Uh,
way before that. And we were just good friends for a year. And then we started dating and both went to University of Colorado. But yeah, I liked him and respected him and admired him so much prior to us dating. And so his opinion mattered a lot to me,
mm.
even though, we were just friends at the time.
I love that story. That's so cool that he just went and did it, and then that his family split up, because I feel like so many people live their life with like, this is what you do, we're already here, like, but why not? And they just did it. That's so
And
cool.
then and then Joe emailed Coach Wetmore 5 or 6 times probably before he ever got a response saying like, "I want to come run for you. I want to come run for you." And he was getting recruited to other schools, but he didn't just sit back and say, "I'm going to wait for the letters to roll in for recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to like go out and talk to the people I want to talk to." So um he's always been that way, and it's rubbed off on me, and is I think makes he and I a good team, and makes the team we've grown have that same kind of mindset. And it's probably his greatest strength as a coach and as a husband.
Okay, last question about that. Do you think in those moments, like those high school moments, did he have any idea that like, I'm gonna end up coaching her someday, like winning Olympic medals and things like that?
No,
No.
no. But I did say to him before when we were friends, I wrote on a little post-it note and said, "I love my future hubby, Joe Boss," and put it in his wallet. So we like I knew he was special to me, and
Oh.
we hadn't even dated yet, but he was special to me. But I don't think he ever thought he'd coach me. After when he became my coach, he was current at the time working as a tax accountant.
Mm.
So he very different than coaching, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I I don't think either of us saw this happening, but it's worked out.
Ah, it's too good. Your story's too good with him. I love it. Okay, let's do end a podcast. What is one thing professionally or personally that you'd like to do that you haven't done yet?
Hmm. Professionally, race a 5K, break 9 minutes in the steeple, um, win Olympic gold. Uh, Personally, I want to be a mom one
Mm,
day.
love it. What is an accomplishment you're most proud of?
It's a real, it's a, it. Olympic bronze and world championship gold are like my two favorite kids. I can't pick between them, but those are my two really um, big, big, most proud, special accomplishments in my life.
I love it. Who's someone fun, motivating, or inspiring you'd like to have coffee, tea, or cocktail with, and what would you have? What drink would you choose?
Mm, um, I always love having a glass of wine with Kara Goucher.
Mm,
She is a good friend and it's always fun to catch up with. Um, mm, or a marg with Joe, just going on a date with him, have a margarita.
I love that. That is my favorite thing to do. Margaritas out with my husband as well. A glass of wine with Kara Goucher also sounds lovely. What's the best, most recent book you've read?
Um, right now I'm reading a book about Winston Churchill. Oh my gosh. I'm blanking on the book I'm reading right now. One of my favorite books of all time is Mindset by Carol Dweck. It's a really short read, but just a book about your mindset and not being a baby victim in your own life.
I'm looking up the Winston Churchill book really quick.
It's by Eric Larson. It is called, I'm in my bedroom. I could go find where I put my book, but
Winston, I can. Oh, the Splendid and the Vial.
oh, here, Splendid in the Vial.
Okay.
Reading that right now.
Is it good? Are you like into it?
I really like history, so
Yeah.
this is about the first bit of World War II. And so it's very interesting to me, but it's not necessarily like a trashy beach read type of book, which I love those books.
Okay, it's going to sound repetitive to people who listen to consecutive episodes, but have you read Daisy Jones and the Six?
No.
It's so good.
Okay. I'll write it down.
So sad anytime I have to do anything else because I'm so into it and I just don't want it to end. It's about a band in the 60s and just I love the way it's written and I just
all right, I wrote it down.
Yes, I want to be like I want to listen to their music even though they're not a real band. Like it's so good. Okay, the last question we have is what is your one message to send to the world?
I love this one poem from Michelle Silverstein with the line that says, "Anything can happen, child. Anything can be." And I just think that's what I would tell people. Anything can happen. Just go make it happen. And like relax. Don't be so stressed and upset and freak out about every little thing that happens. Life has lots of highs and lows, and anything can happen. And yeah, I guess that's it.
That sounds very true to how it sounds like you and Joe live your lives.
I think we try. We're happy and we work hard for what we want and surround ourselves with really good people. So those are the secrets to our life. And it's, it works for us and we're happy like that.
I love it. Emma, this was really fun. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for the chat.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you without a mask on. It feels less weird.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lindsay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.